Well, the Foxy Pirates wind up winning round one, but man, I just don't feel too comfortable about how it was done. Cheap is the word that comes to mind.
On this chapter 309, Groggy Monsters.
Oh boy, it's getting interesting now. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and heartwarming, tantalizing, sometimes a little frickin' freaky and crazy tale of One Piece. Our last chapter, of course, saw us with really the end being, kind of coming to a close, at the end of the race, and of course the Straw Hats were in the lead at the time, but we found out that Foxy, the Silver Fox, is in fact a devil fruit bearer, and has the power of whatever he uses, this thing called the slow beam. So the chapter leaves off, of course, with that happening, and then that's right where we pick up over here, and we pick up with the whole announcement of, and the winner of the first round, the donut race in the Davy back fight is, and it winds up being the Foxy Pirates. It winds up being Portia and company, or Portia and company, her and obviously and Capote and Mondo or Monda or whatever his name is. And then they go and they're like, and everybody, the Straw Hats are kind of like out of it. And they're like, what the hell? We were, Robin and Nami and Usopp were like, what the hell? We were ahead. What's going on, right? So as everything ends off and they're like, oh yeah, and all the Fox Pirates, we won. We get to pick one of your crew members. We won, There's a few page explanation where, he actually goes and Foxy actually shows, he says he's got the power of the slow fruit, and he basically can emit these photons of light and from his body, and wherever the light touches, basically stops everything, or stops time, or slows down time for, about 30 seconds. Then it comes back, and he actually demonstrates it with having his guy Hamburger fire this cannonball like shot at him, and he just slows it down as it comes really close to him, and then moves out of the way and allows it to pass him by. But definitely, I think it was an underhanded way to go in and try to win the race. And I think it was kind of a bullshit way too. But if it's not in the rules that you can't not do that, I mean, if Luffy had his shit together and him and Zoro weren't eating and drinking, and Sanji getting touched by all the women, and Chopper eating sweet things, any one of them could have also helped and interfered. I mean, Luffy, if he was anywhere near the shoreline, could have stretched out and held them back, So a lot of it came down to how things were played out. The Straw Hats were kind of lulled into a false sense of security, the ones that were on the actual, that were not on the ship and in the race. So very cheap, but ultimately they wind up winning. So then it goes and it's time to pick the crew member in the spoils of war, and I guess you can pick anybody. It's not just somebody that participated in that round. So he winds up going and picking, he says, I'll take Tony Chopper, your doctor. And he wanted Chopper because he's so cute and cuddly and furry and everything. And Chopper's flipping, man. First of all, he's supposed to participate in the next game. So now they're down a member automatically for that game because he can't participate anymore because he's now part of the Foxy Pirates. Has to swear allegiance. Foxy makes him put on this, eye patch bandana looking thing. So he's a part of their crew. And Chopper's crying like a baby. And really, Chopper, he's a very cool character. He's very emotional. I understand that. I felt like he grew a lot in Skypiea because he wound up ultimately having to face down 3 out of the 4 priests. Actually managed to defeat one of them in Gadatsu. And I felt like he really grew in Skypiea, but he still is just kind of blubbering, whining mess whenever it comes to anything, And this whole time, I remember, like, every time they talk about somebody losing or whatever, it's so funny because Robin's always like, or Nami was always like, they're going to choose me because I'm cute, right? And Usopp at one point, was like, no, I'm cuter. Nonetheless, that's getting off the beaten path, and same thing with Chopper. That's really a story for maybe another video when I do on like characters themselves or character spotlights. But Chopper thus far, though, he really does. He's grown in a lot of different ways, but he needs to sometimes just man up. And it's really cool because after that, you get this really cool speech by Zoro, and Zoro's been drinking and everything else, and he's just like, you know what? Stop it. Be a man, okay? You chose to come out here and be a pirate. Nobody talked you into it or anything else. And everything that's happened to you, it happens. You got to accept it. Be a man about it. So basically just man up, stop your crying bullshit. And now he's like, oh no, and you gotta understand how he feels. But Chopper goes and he sucks some tears up into him, and he's like, you know what, do whatever you want with me, cook me, eat me, whatever. I'm not gonna, he's gonna have honor, and he's gonna just sit down and shut up about it. So anyway, Zoro, it was a little bit of tough love, I think, but at the same time, it was like, all right, dude, enough of this nonsense, okay? Enough of this whining when anything happens, anything happens wrong, and you and Usopp are crying and cowering in the corner. and we need to stop that shit. So anyway, we wind up finding out though what the actual second round is going to be, and it's going to be of course Zoro and Sanji against you know, these other Foxy pirates and what have you. And what it is it's basically like a game where there's like this round donut looking thing, like a life preserver, and that's the goal, and you basically have to put the ball in the goal. But the ball is actually a person. You actually designate one of your team members to be the ball, so I'm assuming the other person has to go and then run and put him in the goal, and the other team gets to block. I don't know if it's like an offensive defensive thing where you take turns or just complete chaos. We'll find all that out, I'm sure, in the next chapter. But really what we wind up seeing here, and it's towards the end of the chapter, is the 3 characters that come out for the Foxy pirates, right? And I mean, this is crazy, dude. Here, leading them up is Hamburg, the 4-footed dash freak. And we've obviously seen Hamburg, but look at him. He's 3 times the size of Zoro. And this is the smallest guy. He's 3 times the size of Zoro or Sanji, right? And then you got next is Pickles, a.k.a. the tackle machine. So I guess Pickles, the 20-foot tall guy, that's the tackle machine. And in back, half fishman and half giant, Big Bud, the fish giant. And you just got this dude. I mean, this dude, it's like freaking King Kong, man. I have no idea how they're going to go up against him, you know. It's a veritable march of the monsters. And I like how it was done. All right, second round, Groggy Ring. Let the game begin. And then you got, it's so funny because they designated Sanji, Zoro has designated Sanji to be the ball, which he wasn't too happy about. He's like, how come you don't be the ball, Mosshead? You know, and it's always funny to see their interactions and how they're going to work in this one. Zoro ends it with Bring It On. But ultimately, you have to think about how are these two going to work and survive. At times, they've actually worked together or kind of been on the same page for a very short period of time. But for the most part, it's very much a whose dick is bigger competition with them all the time, 24/7. And to see them actually be forced to work together now without Chopper, so they don't even have that third person like an intermediary amongst them, is going to be interesting nonetheless. And especially, too, because Zoro, you got to remember, he's half in the bag, man. Okay, I already told Chopper, man, off and stop being a bitch. And he's been drinking straight for a while, so... definitely very cool, and I can't wait to see what happens in the next one. So my chapter question, though, is what are your thoughts on their team, man? Team Monstrosity over here. You know, take a look at those bad boys, either on here by, I guess you can pause the video and you get a decent look, or, of course, if you have the volumes and you're reading along or you're reading along online, what have you. Man, what are your thoughts on those 3 characters? We'd only seen one of them previous to that, and, I mean, you knew he was bigger, but I guess didn't really get an idea of the size differential until you saw these 3. So leave your answer to that question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We'll look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nation. Well, remember to follow me over on Twitter, Facebook, and my other channel as well.